Just got to refresh the screen and hope for the best, I guess. Let's see. Coming at you live from the basement bunker. There we are. Hello, my face. Good times. Yeah, no one's watching yet. That's okay. That's okay. I'm sure we'll get an eyeball or two as we go. Oh. Nobody missed me, apparently. That's okay. I'll talk to myself. I am happy to do that. Just check on the stuff real quick. Make sure we know I'm not missing anything in the real world. Fatima, of course you're watching me. You have nothing better to do. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just checking emails, waiting for people to pop in. Got a few eyeballs coming in. Hey, Robin. Good morning. Top of the morning. It may not be morning for you. I guess you're probably over at East Coast time. Still downloading videos from my writer's workshop on my other computer over there. It's taken, since the workshop ended, like a month, because it's a lot of video, and it's a lot of... He recorded in 4K. I'm like, what are you doing? My eyes are 720p, and they're not getting any better. Yep, see ya, Fatima. Sorry, I know I scare everybody away. It's okay, it happens. Dougie. We'll see you in a week, man. Yeah? Who else is... Fatima, are you going to Nink? Will you be out there? Nink in a week. Nink in a week. In a wink. Yeah, it's next Wednesday, I think it kicks off. Thursday it kicks off. We're getting there Wednesday night. And Emily is going with me. That's my wife, by the way, not some rando. She'll be out there. She heard there was a beach, so she's like, yeah, I'm definitely going. So I'll be there with good old Dave Behrens, Doug Pratt. Fatima's will be with us in Vegas. Good. Not as many beaches there, but that's okay. We'll enjoy Nink without you. Maybe. We'll try. Let me pop up my notes here. Let's see what we're talking about today. I'm just kidding. I remember exactly what we're talking about today. Do you? Finishing strong. Ending the year. Yeah, good time to talk about this, and I'll explain why in a moment. But for now, let me see. Hide those. Boo. Perfect. Wait on a little bit more. We only have a few in here now. I think we probably scared most people away just because, well, my face tends to do that. It's all right. I'm used to it. You may be watching from somewhere else. Maybe you're on YouTube. Maybe you're on the X. Do we call it that yet? Is it just the Twitter? The X? Maybe you're watching on Insta or the Gram, as I like to say. Doug's not really listening. I don't blame you. I kind of go in and out, you know. I start talking, I just kind of check in and out. You know how we roll. We wait, 5, 7, 10 minutes or so of just shooting the shit, and then we jump into the real awesome stuff. And I've got it. Bring it today. So if you're watching me from somewhere else, go find us on the Facebook group. That's where the cool people are. Those are where I can see the comments. That is where I can see the comments. But you may be streaming me from my Facebook page. Like I said, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, Instagram. There's one more. I can't remember what it is. The point is, you can find this wherever you can find live streams, anywhere. Turn on CNN. I probably would be there, little box in the corner. But that's not where I want you to watch. I want you to watch it on the Facebook group because it's my group, and I'll feel bad if people don't participate in my group. No, it's because I can see the comments, and as we get going here talking about your writing career, I want to interact. I want to engage. It's a little one-sided if it's just me kind of spewing nonsense one way into your brain ball. So, yeah, jump on the Facebook group if you can. If you have any interest in, commenting, talking back to me, whatever the case is. Let's see. I got a message. Cool. Thank you. Awesome. Perfect. Anyone else? Come on in. Yeah, we got a couple more eyeballs joining up. Like my hair today, everybody? I didn't do it. I don't do it. I didn't do anything to it. But I got Book Career Blue on, so I figured, hey, we're ready to roll that way. Tell me where you're coming from. I know where some of you are. Sneha, welcome in. Good to see you again. Where are you at again? I can't remember. Fatima, are you in, was it UAE? Qatar? I can't remember. I'm from Texas, so all of that's just kind of like the same place. I don't know the difference. I'm just kidding. Robin asked me, what are you working on at the moment, Nick? Editing is what you should. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Kuwait. That's what it is. I knew it wasn't one of those. I'm so sorry. That's what it is. Okay. Are you there now? What time is it? Like 14 o'clock? Crazy. Thanks for joining us all the way from across the pond. Toronto. Sneha's from Toronto. Yep. I've heard of that place. They have a hockey team. It's not any good. It's okay. Mitch Marner's all right. He wishes he was as good as Austin Matthews, who wishes he was as good as all of the Colorado Avalanche players. Answer your question, Robin. What am I working on at the moment? A lot. We'll talk about a little bit of that now because we're talking about finishing strong, and I have been in I wouldn't call it a funk. I've just been in a grind. I've just been in a nonstop onslaught, it feels like. A secret project I'm working on for Drafted Digital is coming along really well. I presented that to the board yesterday. They seem to like it. Can't really talk too much about it because there's not much to say or show anybody, but it's going to be fun. I also am trying desperately to finish up this stupid book. All of my books are stupid. This one is by far the stupidest. I hate it. It's so stupid. I just need to get it done. It's a Harvey Bennett book, number 15. The big... Yeah, you're right, Robin. Some of the McKinnon. You don't even know their names. Nathan freaking McKinnon grew up with Sidney Crosby. I mean, come on. Anyway, Halifax, I believe. Cole Harbour. Is that where they're from? No, that's... I don't know. Anyway, I don't even know Canadian geography either. The biggest thing that I've been working on lately is trying to get my direct sales set up on the website. I've done this numerous times over the years, but I've never really I've never been really serious about it. Like I've never spent, $100 a day on ads to drive to the website. That's the plan. That's what I want to get to what I'm doing. I've been able to scale a little bit, but there's always, I kind of reach a point where it's just worth it to continue going back to Amazon and advertising there. And I don't want to do that this time. So I have been totally revamping my website. Don't go there yet because it's not ready, but I'll tell you. I'll let you know. I've been going through that, setting everything up, getting images built, connecting different variations together. It's a whole big annoying thing. But the whole point is I feel like I'm stuck. I can't send an email to my list to go buy something on the website that's already been set up unless I have the whole thing set up. You know how it goes. Because I want to have the little pop-ups that are like, hey, free shipping if you add more of my crap to your cart. All that stuff needs to be kind of working. And then I don't want to just sell anything without having a funnel, like a downline kind of thing, downstream kind of thing where people are like, getting an email that says, oh, come back and get a coupon. So it's a whole lot of stuff. So we're going to talk about that because that is part of my finishing strong. And so we'll jump into it. It's 8 after, and I've been accused of rambling by people like the people I'm married to. And so I want to make sure that I'm getting this stuff into your brain so that we can discuss it. But I'm talking about finishing strong. I was taking a walk yesterday, and I was thinking about this quite a bit. I was listening to some podcasts, and it seems like, maybe you're like this, but it seems like for me, everything in my year is like seasons. It's very cyclical. Like it comes back. I feel certain ways, certain times of the year. So in springtime, I'm feeling, feeling a certain way that, I want to go write fiction, right? And then maybe in the summertime, I feel kind of a slump, fiction side, and I want to jump into the nonfiction stuff, this book career in a year stuff. And these are just examples, but like right now, this sort of almost fall, it's starting to break a little bit, getting a little chilly in the morning here in Colorado anyway. The feeling I get is kind of this like exuberance, this anticipation almost of, oh, it's going to be so good if I can finish up X, then I can just enjoy, I love Christmas, the whole season, the winter season, right? Just traditions and all that growing up with, and everyone's got different ones. But the point is, that season, whatever it looks like for you, is coming up. And I'm starting to feel that a little bit. And I feel like I want to kind of clean the slate, right? I want to wipe the plate clean and start fresh. But years past, I've done that in sort of a sporadic way. I've just sort of fallen forward into that. And so what I'm trying this year, and actually I've been doing this for a couple of years, but I'm just refining the process a lot more this year. And I want to give this to you. It's a framework, not surprisingly, right? But there's a couple things that I'm doing that I'm like, really actively focusing on in this season called not quite the end of the year, but kind of starting to think about the end of the year, right? I mean, we're just barely past, not barely, we're a couple months past, the middle of the year. So it doesn't feel like we should be talking about end of the year stuff. But guys, one more month, end of October, we kick off, is it October, November? No. So yeah, like beginning of October, we kick off the last quarter of the year, right? And that's less than a month away. So it's things like that make me think, okay, I need to have some kind of plan to finish strong, to finish the end of the year strong. Okay. So first of all, taking this walk, this is really helpful time for me to process things and to think through. It's a mental health game as much as it is physical. What I've been doing in this particular season for the last few weeks, starting the last few weeks, is reflecting on the year, right? I say typically because what the research shows, a lot of people love to sit down in a cozy chair with a cappuccino or whatever they're drinking, hot toddy or something, Christmas time or New Year's, and then that's when they do their reflection. Or maybe they'll wait until after the holiday festivities, the beginning of the year, and they'll kind of reflect and plan the new year. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I've really tried to shift this earlier so that I can focus on, hey, what did I get done that I said I would get done? What did I get done that I didn't even know I was going to do? Right? Like for example, brand new job at Drafted Digital. I had no idea. It wasn't on the radar this time last year. Which is, it brought along with it a lot of projects that I can't exactly say no to because it's my job. Fiction-wise, what projects have I tackled that I said I would? What projects have I tackled that I didn't realize I was going to have to do for whatever reason? And then what things did I not get done that I said I would get done? This is part of this reflection, and there's no right or wrong answers, and this isn't to to disrespect ourselves. This is simply to reflect on what we can accomplish in the span of a year. And the point of doing this reflection now is that the year's not over yet. Okay, and so by reflecting on the stuff that we've done so far should give us a pretty good idea of this year's rhythm so far, this 9 months that we've had so far of rhythm can propel us through the last 3 months, assuming the rhythm isn't going to drastically change. We may not know what that rhythm looks like year to year, right? Like last year was a whole different rhythm than this year, just for whatever reason. And so I've stopped trying to look at a particular rhythm for 3, 5, 10 years because I don't know what it's going to be like a year from now. But I certainly know, generally speaking, it's going to stay the same from the beginning of the year to now, to 9 months, and probably to the rest of the year. So again, I'm very, very vague, strategic, high-level stuff here. But the point is, I'm reflecting on that. I'm thinking through what I got done. I'm thinking through what I didn't get done. I'm asking myself why. I'm saying, hey, based on this particular rhythm that I've had going, where I go right every day, or where I go work every day, or what I do every day, assuming that'll stay the same for the next 3 months or so, or till the end of the year, so 4 months. What do I want to get done next? Okay, and I'm going to give you some frameworks for how I'm thinking about this because I think it's important. I think if we finish strong, however we want to define that, it's going to build that much more momentum for the next season, right? For the next thing that we've got coming up. And if we start stacking these wins in this way, we start building this rhythm year after year after year, we realize we're able to accomplish more important things. And if you remember my talk about next big moves and picking out what to do next and those different things that we've talked about here, that's really important to all of us, not just me. It's really important to all of us to figure out, hey, it's not about getting shit done. It's about getting the right shit done. Pardon my French. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if we co-wrote a book over here that took 3 months and it's an amazing book, if it's off genre and it's just something that was kind of a passion project and we didn't really have time to do it because our career is suffering, right? So there's things that we need to figure out how to do in these kind of seasons of planning and finishing strong. So framework number 1, the first thing that I want you to do is learn how to say no to certain projects. And I've got a rule for that. It's the 45-day rule. I totally just made it up based on no research whatsoever, but I think it's helpful. I'm going to give it to you. You can see what you think, and interact with, drop something in there. I know Robin's, mouthing off about hockey still. That's totally fine. I'll allow it because I love hockey. But you start talking about football that just started, you're out. I'm just kidding. Drop a comment in there. Let me know what you think of this stuff as we go. And then, of course, as always, I'll have time for some questions, interaction stuff at the end. But the 45-day rule, this is Nick Thacker's official written in stone rule that says, don't take on any new projects starting right now, this week. Don't take on anything new unless you will start it within the next 45 days. Okay? Let's unpack this a little bit, because you're like, whoa, what if I send an email about this project, I've started it. No. I'm saying, don't worry about when, sometimes projects need to be 3 months or 6 months or a year long because there are other people involved in your teams, whatever, or it's a book project and you just don't write fast enough to complete something within 45 days. I'm talking about starting something, actually investing your brain power and your bandwidth and your motivation and discipline into this new thing. That is what how I'm defining, starting something. So next 45 days, stick on your calendar. Let's call it let's call it Halloween, end of October, 31st of October is about 45 days. I don't know. Don't check me on that. I have no idea if that's accurate, but it should be around that time, right? Just call it October 31st, depending on when you're listening to this. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's when your cutoff is for anything new, starting anything new. Okay, so you're not going to be tackling a new website project on November 1st. You're not going to be taking on a new book that you've always wanted to write that even if you know is going to sell really well on November 1st. Okay? If you have already started one and you've already invested bandwidth and time and you know that you have the energy for that and you start that before October 31st, then I'll allow it. Okay? But 45 days from now is your window. You want to add anything? Well, don't worry. We'll talk about how to figure out what to add. But if you want to add anything to your plate, you got to commit to starting it in the next 45 days, or you wait till next year. Okay? Like I said, I'll give you another framework that helps us, kind of figure out what to put on that plate. But maybe you're already at the point where I already got too much on my plate. Well, good. Take something off the plate. Don't stress yourself out thinking, I'm going to finish the year well, therefore let me put all this stuff on my plate and try to just tackle it all. That was future Nick problem. That's what I used to do up until about 2 minutes ago. That's kind of how I operate. And I'm training myself to not do that, to say no to more things, right? Like in our 20s, saying yes to opportunities is how we got ahead in our career and how we built our whatever it is we're doing. As we get a little bit older into our 30s, certainly 40s, we should be in that career and we should know really well how to say no to certain things, even when they look like opportunities. You all know at this point in your life, opportunities are going to keep coming at you. Okay, so just because you say no to something now or push something off your plate now doesn't mean you're never going to do it. And it doesn't mean that opportunity is not going to come back. And it may look a little different. But I'm here to remind you, you're smart people. There's going to be stuff coming. I'm telling myself this, right? Like, hey, there's going to be more stuff coming. Don't do all the stuff right now. We're launching ourselves into the end of the year. And part of that is launching ourselves into rest, relaxation, reset, all the things that start with R. We want to lean into the new year once we're there. If that's how you operate, like, the new year, new me, maybe your fiscal year, you follow that in June, or July 1st is your, brand new. It doesn't matter. There's something about the season of New Year's, and I'm not just talking about America, but like just anyone who follows this calendar kind of resets January 1, and there's a feeling, right? There's a reason gyms sell out their memberships on January 1st, and then, of course, people are excited about it. Adopt that feeling. Allow that feeling to be there, but the point is plan for it, and plan for it well, and part of that is launching yourself into the end of the year to finish strong, not just in work, but in relaxation and reset, and this is kind of the mindset that I want you to start getting into, because this is the mindset that I'm trying to get myself into, okay? So 45 days from now, October 31st, if you can't bite off a big piece and accomplish a big portion of whatever project it is you're thinking, I should do this, then in the next 45 days, then just wait. Okay, now there's projects that require deadlines. I get that, right? There's obviously things that, boss says, hey, I need this done by November 15th. You can send your boss over here and I'll talk to them for you. Or you can just do the job because that's what you signed up for. But when you're in charge, when you're in control, whatever it is that you got control over, that you have agency over in your life, in your work, whatever it is, just say no to the projects that you kind of know you're not going to start in the next 45 days. Okay? What this is you're committing to not starting it in the next 6 months, basically. You're saying, I'm going to wait till next year before I even look at this thing. The reason that this works is we know ourselves better than anyone else, obviously, and we know our calendar better than anyone else. And we know that if we're not actually thinking, hell yeah, I can absolutely start knocking this thing out right now, and I have time for it, and I have space for it, and I know that it's going to be of value, don't do it. Just don't do it right now. That opportunity will come back. That book will be there when you're ready to write it, okay? I know I'm being a little bit more vague and stuff, but this is just kind of the way I'm thinking through. So 45-day rule, don't tackle anything unless you can start it within 45 days from now. Okay, so that's about saying no to projects. I keep talking about I'm going to give you some ideas of how to say yes to certain things because we do need more projects. That's how our life pushes forward. As authors, every book is a project, and if we stop producing projects, we stop making money. We stop having a career. Our readers go away, right? So we do need to say yes to certain things. And the way to do that is to identify your top 3. Okay? Your top 3 are, very simply, the next 3 things that you need to do. This is not the next big move. These are smaller than that, right? If you remember my talk about, hey, the mountain, and then there's the next big move. That's a pretty big thing. It's like a hill, but it's not. It's a bunch of projects all stacked together. This new thing, this new career path, whatever. These are the individual projects. So you've already listened to Nick talk about next big move, right? Go find that. And then you've unpacked that a little bit now to you have all these projects that you could do. All of them will ostensibly take you closer to your goal, to your mountain. But they all need to get done, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Pick 3, okay? If you've already got 2 of them that you're working on, pick 1. Have 3 right now, and only 3. If you can get it, down to 3, you're way ahead of most people. Personally, I have to break my life into areas of responsibility, right? So I've got my, family projects. I got to clean the garage. I finally put that on the calendar because why? If it's not on the calendar, it's not going to get done. But that's like a big project. It may not be that big to you, but it's a big project for me, and I've been putting it off. But that's one particular project. That's in my personal life. I also need to have 2, maybe 3 projects for the the Draft to Digital side of things for the end of the year, for the rest of the year, that I'm making sure I'm pushing forward because that's my job, right? I have a boss telling me to do things. But I also work for myself as an author, as you know, right? Full-time fiction author. And so I have to make sure that I've got projects there. So if you're like me, you'll probably have, 6, 7, 8, 9 projects of different size and importance. And if you are looking for what to say yes to, pick the big 3 to focus on, to prioritize. Okay. Remember what I talked about on the importance, the impact it'll have. Use that to your advantage. If you're looking at projects going, I got to get all 9 of these things done. Which one do I do? Well, pick the one that will have the most impact, for the least amount of effort or investment or time. And sometimes we can't really know that ahead of time. But so pick the one that's got the most impact. Like, man, if I could finish my website, get all this direct sales stuff, this engine going, I can start testing ads and I can start scaling up. That's a big impact project. And so I really, really want to finish that. But I'm probably going to be able to finish that this week or next week before NINC. That's my goal, right? So that means I've got this 45-day window, right? I still have time to add another project. And so when we're thinking about end of the year and finishing strong, it's important to consider we've got a little bit of space to kind of add 1 or 2 small things or project-sized things to get us to the end of the year and to get that motivation and discipline kind of carried through. The benefit of doing this is we don't stress ourselves out because we know how to say no to things, the 45-day rule, right? We know how to say, I can't take that on right now. But it also lets us keep moving forward. So we don't feel like we get to Christmas and we're like, oh shit, man, it's already Christmas, or Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, whatever the season, Thanksgiving, whatever you want to use. We get to the end of the year and we look back and we go, I didn't really get anything done this last half of the year. I mean, I was kind of like pushing these things forward that I started in January or that were going on last year, and I'm just kind of piecing things together. Wrote a chapter here and there, but I didn't really do anything, right? So it's this weird balance. It's a delicate balance between we got to say no to a lot of stuff, because otherwise we're just going to be stressed out the whole season into the year. And we got to say yes to some stuff too. Otherwise we won't really we won't feel like we've accomplished anything. And arguably we haven't accomplished anything. So it's important to understand and determine the impact of these things that we're considering saying yes to. And once we do that, we can start to see the priorities a little bit better. The project I keep talking about with website, running ads, like that's going to have major impact on my bottom line. And so it's really important to be able to identify that impact for each one. I've given you some hints here, but maybe it's for a major client. Like if you're in web design or you're a freelancer, like you've got the project that's like, hey, I can do this. I can certainly do a big portion of it. I can start it in the next 45 days. And it's going to have good impact for my career. That would be a good high impact priority that you might want to choose as one of your three. Maybe it is a passion project where you're like, I've kind of got these two projects over here that I'm pushing forward. That feels good. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do those two things and finish strong. But I want to add a third one just to, I've really always wanted to do this. And when I'm done with the work at night, this is going to be the thing that I work. Maybe it's woodworking, right? Maybe you want to go out in the garage and that you got to clean and go learn something new, a new hobby or skill. So it can be something like that. That is high impact too, because again, it helps us feel like we're accomplishing something while at the same time leaning into that like rest and reset. Does that make sense? You don't need to be type A. You don't need to be some kind of driven nonstop person. But I think it's really important to have those things that are not jobs, careers, house projects. That are just fun to do, because we often don't give ourselves permission to do those kinds of things, right? We feel guilty. We're like, hey, I can't read fiction because if I have time to read fiction, I have time to write fiction. And we all got into this because we like to read fiction. So maybe your passion project is to get through a stack of books that you had next to your bed for a while and just to let yourself off the hook and say, the project is to finish this year well. And part of that is to tackle this project called read the stack of books that I've been feeling guilty about reading. All right. I've got that stack right next to my bed. Okay. Another way to tell if a good criteria for selecting, whether or not this is a good project to prioritize is its proximity to completion. Very fancy term for just, is it close to being done? If you've got a project you started and maybe you're spinning your wheels on a little bit earlier in the year and you're like, you know what, I'll when it comes back again, I'll reinvest. Okay, maybe the impact isn't necessarily there right now, or it's changed in your mind over time, but you need another project to do and you're running out of high impact ones. Pick the one that's close to completion, because there is nothing that does more for our mental health in terms of career than finishing stuff, checking that box, pushing it across the finish line, saying it's done. Okay, so you got something that's 80% close to completion, or even at this point, 50% close to completion. You can do that in the next 45 days. You can finish it the next 45 days. If it's 80%, you can finish it the next 2 weeks, possibly, and then pick a new project and do that in 45. So find something that's close to completion. Maybe that's something that's sitting around. I know I've got a book that was co-written, that I co-wrote, and it's my job, it's my turn, right? The ball's in my court. I got to go through the draft and fix it up and rewrite and expand and all that. And I have just been putting it off. It's almost been a year now, maybe even longer. And the poor guy, I keep telling him, I'm going to get to it this summer. And I just haven't done it. This is a perfect example of something that I would say is 80% done. The hard work has been done. It's just grind work now, right? It's just sitting down and reading and I'm a very slow reader, these days. And so I can't go through it super fast. And I've just been putting it off, fine. Yes, it's going to be impactful because my readers are going to love it. I think it's going to be a great thing and it's going to be super fun. But you know what? I've got higher impact projects and I've always been putting the higher impact projects in front of this one. Well, now might be a good time to look at it and go, you know what? It's 80% done. I'm going to say no to a few other projects, and I'm going to put this one as a top 3 because I can knock it out and I can certainly get most of it done in the next 45 days. Okay. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to have to stop working on it come Halloween or November 1st. It just means that if I haven't even begun the project, the 45-day rule is just if I haven't even started the dang thing, don't start it unless I can tackle a portion of it in the next 45 days. Hope that makes sense. Finally, the last thing we need to do when we're identifying these priorities, these top 3 projects, is looking at the potential obstacles that each project might have and tackle them. This is one of the things that I didn't do very well with the book project, and why it's still sitting at 80% or 75% completion. I didn't sit down and identify the obstacles regarding getting this book done. I know how fast or slow, really, I write, and I know how I work, and I know when I work, and what I like to do, and how to, and all that stuff. And I did not apply any of that logic to this book project. I just said, yeah, I can fit it in, right? And I didn't lie. I mean, I did intend to fit it in, but what happens when we try to fit things in? Well, they don't get fit in because the projects that we have committed to take priority, inevitably, right? What's the law? The amount of work we have to do scales to fit the amount of time we have allotted to that project. That's how my life is. I sit down and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this today. Boom, perfect. I'm so good at setting these goals. Oh, I'm so great at doing this. And, I should be able to do this stuff, or at least these pieces of this stuff, in 4 hours. And I've got 5 hours of work time right now. So that last hour, I'll do this book project. What happens, guys? 5 hours ends, and I'm like, oh shit, I did 2 of the things I was supposed to do, not 3 or 4. I just scaled the time I had to fit the time that I had allotted for it. So don't do that. Look at the potential obstacles of each priority. You've determined the impact and the importance. You've determined how close it is to completion. These should give you a pretty good idea of how long it'll take you to do it, or whether or not you can at least bite off a portion of it in the next 45 days. Finally, what I didn't do is you have to figure out what obstacles are included in that project, or what obstacles will present themselves should you take on this project. I should have known that. I did know, but I should have used this logic to say, hey, this book project isn't going to be something you can just fit in. You need to put it on, the main burner here and sit down and work on it for 2 hours at a time. You can't just go 15 minutes of this, 15 minutes of that, because I forget what chapter I'm on and this and that. I forgot what the note was that I left for myself in the Kindle and as I was reading through his work. You got to know the obstacles. You got to acknowledge them and then use that information to decide what are your top 3 projects that you can do the rest of the year. Okay. When you do this, what you're doing is narrowing your focus, right? So you're actively throwing out things that you just aren't going to tackle yet. And you may have really good reasons to tackle them. You may have really good reasons or ideas that will move the needle for you, but you can't do everything all at once. So what these 2 frameworks do is it narrows your focus. And every time I've done anything that narrows my focus, I have noticed that it improves the quality of my work substantially. Okay. Yeah, the things that I wanted to get done don't get done. Guess what? I'm not doing any woodworking these days. But my work in other areas has improved substantially. Okay. It's increased the mental clarity so much, which decreases stress. You hear me talk about that a lot. That's such a huge thing for me who, I got some anxiety issues. And this is one of the best ways of doing that, is to actively say, I see all of you projects that want to get done. I acknowledge your presence, and I've identified how impactful each of you little projects would be for me to tackle before the end of the year. But guess what? I don't care about any of you guys. You're going to go over there and you're going to wait in the corner until I call you. And I'm going to pick 3, and I'm going to do those 3, and then I'm just going to focus on those. That has helped my mental health so much. Taking these walks in the morning, walking around, listening to podcasts, waving at old people. It's all part of my morning thing and my ritual. And the other part of it is when I actually do sit down to work afterwards, I'm motivated by what I did in the morning when I took a walk. But then I'm also motivated by this clarity that I've got because I know what the big task is. And yeah, it might be monstrous and might have to, spend the entire week working on a website like I have been. But no stress, or very little stress, right? I'm not stressed about this project because I know I need to get it done. I've said no to other things because this was the next big thing I needed to tackle, and I was right. So, boom, I can do my work. I can have a lot to do. I can be overwhelmed by it even, but I'm not stressed about it, and that's big. That's huge. Finally, it's going to give us a clear sense of achievement at the end of the year. And this is what we're going for, right? We're talking about finishing strong, ending the year well as an author. We want to get to the end of the year and sit in that cozy couch with our cappuccino and our cat and say, man, I did a lot of good stuff this year. Or man, I did a few things that were really impactful for my business. Or I did one thing that's really going to move the needle for me next year. Either way, whatever story you tell yourself, if you do this well, you end the year well, and you tell yourself, wow, I've achieved something that I set out to achieve. And maybe there's things that I achieved that I didn't realize I was going to achieve, but they all came because I decided to sit down and do the things that were important and say no to some of the things that weren't as important. Not important at all, but just not important right now. Okay, so it's really, really important to say no to those things using the 45-day rule. For example, you can do something else. And then saying yes to certain things. We have to put things on the plate that are going to actually move the needle. No one wants to get to Christmas dinner and go, you know what, guys, I'm going to eat, get my meat coma going on, but then I got to duck out because I got emails to answer. The boss can make me answer some emails. No one wants that. Nobody wants to feel that their sense of accomplishment was, I showed up to work today for a year. That's, great. That's barrier, that's the par for the course, right? That's barrier for entry. The point, you got to have this, you got to be doing something. You have to accomplish something. And I'm not saying you have to, climb your entire mountain in the next 5 months. I'm saying that at all. On the contrary, I'm saying you got to do something more than just the individual daily tasks, but not something as monstrous as your mountain. You just pick something in the middle. And I say 3 things. I say 3 projects. Have 3 going at all times. Sort of a good rhythm for me. But I'm only picking 3 for the end of the year. And I'm picking them now. I'm looking at my calendar going, okay, well, I can fit this in here. I'm going to do this, but this is just it. And then these other things that are really cool, I still want to make sure the radio station that I run, the internet radio station that plays writing podcasts and chill music for writing. Yeah, you didn't know I did that, did you? I have that going, radiowrite.com. Needs to be totally revamped, needs to be upgraded, new system, new platform. I got some stuff that I bought that I can apply to. The point is, that's a project. Probably not going to take longer than 3-4 weeks of committed, focused time, but that's not a project I'm doing by the end of the year. I'm actively saying, nope, you go sit in the corner, you wait for me. I might get to you next year. We'll see. Okay, it's not impactful for my career at this point. Fine. So you get to make that decision on your own, but the point is you got to do it. Okay. Robin asked, new music. Yeah, it's music. It's like beats, there's different categories. So I got some hip hop beats, some like chill, relaxation, EDM, that kind of stuff. Go check it out. It's probably playing something right now. It's always playing something. It might be a podcast, might be music. Mal Cooper actually put together a channel. So there's, I can't remember, hers is synthwave, something like that. Anyway, yeah, so that's going on all the time. The point is, cool. So once we've decided these 3 priorities that we had, like I said, maybe you got more because you got different areas of responsibility. That's fine. But you've picked some things and you've picked other things to not do. That's the important part. You got to stay on track. And there's 4 ways that I like to do this with any of these projects. Okay, first is very obvious. You set clear milestones. Okay, so you've got these things you're going to do. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 9, maybe it's 5. Doesn't matter. Projects before the end of the year. This is what I'm doing. You break each one into smaller tasks, and then you put them on the calendar. You deadline every single task. So you squirt them out and say, all right, cool. This one's going to happen here. This one's going to happen here. This one's going to happen here. And if you're like me, you hate doing this because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to fail. You don't want to sit down and go, oh, shoot, I got to pick my kid up early because they got a doctor's appointment and I can't get this done. And then I feel like a failure because I didn't do the thing that was on the calendar. You have to get over this feeling. And the way to get over that feeling is to just keep doing it and keep failing. It's not a failure. It's just a practice, okay? That's all it is. It's just a practice of breaking everything down and then putting it on the calendar as an individual task. Not on a big to-do list that you'll get to when you get to, but on the calendar. It says, I'm going to do this thing here. And that thing happens to be the smallest component of a project, broken into its constituent parts. And you just put it on the calendar. Okay, do that for each of your projects and do that for the rest of the year. And you'll notice that you'll say, okay, cool. Well, I actually don't have this block of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas because we're going to be traveling and I'm going to be in the car and, I can't do that because I got to drive the car. You'll be able to look at that and you know your own rhythm, you know your pace, you know what you can do. But set those clear milestones or this stuff isn't going to happen. The second piece of this is I'll combine two of these four. There's four things. So let me switch it around a little bit. So set clear milestones. The next piece is to visualize the end goal. Okay, and I don't think as authors we do enough visualization. I'm speaking for myself, but maybe this will resonate with you. I don't picture the end goal when I write a book. I picture the beer that I'm going to celebrate with. I don't really picture how impactful this project will be for my readers. I don't. That's kind of weird. I don't do that. Start doing that, because there's some power in visualizing that end goal. So I'm not just going to finish this book and write the end. I'm going to finish the book, write the end, and then I'm going to, imagine the faces of the readers that have been clamoring for this book, and I'm going to sit in that for a little bit. That's such a powerful tool that we don't use very often. Okay, so do that. So visualize the end goal. I'm going to combine the last two into one sort of piece, broken into two sections, and that's why I put them both at the end. But this is the social part. You hear me talk about this a lot, like part of the anxiety, that mental health stuff, is not doing this thing alone, guys. Not being an island, right? Book I'm working on, coming out soon. It's nonfiction, 21 Laws of Publishing, working title, has a chapter in here called No Writer is an Island, and that's part of this. So 2 of the 4 tips for staying on track involve other people. One is get an accountability partner. It doesn't have to be real intense, real official. It can just be a friend or a colleague, someone who can just check in with you. But you do want to schedule that with them. Say, hey, once a week, can you just pop into my office? Yeah, sure, but what's going on? Well, I want someone to kind of hold me accountable and ask me how things are going. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's all it can be. I had a good friend of mine, Kevin Tumlinson, for many years, a couple of years. Every single week on Friday, he would ask me if I gave him very specific questions to ask me about my goals, my writing goals. Did you write this many words this week? Did you make this much money this week? Whatever. And he did this every week for like a year. And it worked because I knew that he was going to call. I knew he was going to ask. Now, and there was, it was reciprocal. Like I helped him with something too. But the point is having that accountability partner in the form of a human, people, not ChatGPT, not your dog, in the form of a human is really powerful. Okay, like I said, it doesn't need to be intense. You're not asking somebody to be mean to you once a week. You're just saying, hey, would you help me out? I feel like I'm going to slip if I don't have somebody just asking me. But now that I know that you're going to ask me and I trust you will, I'm going to do it. That's the power of accountability. So second one is the regular check-ins. Okay, and this can be alone, but I made it a social thing because I really think there's some power in doing it with the person. It could be the same meeting with your accountability person if there's time, pay them with coffee, please. But if you're asking for this much time from them, just be 5 to 10 minutes or whatever, then have them do a check-in with you as well. So ask the accountability part, they ask the questions. Are you doing the things that you told me to ask you about? Yes or no? Okay, cool. Why not? Or what did you feel like when you did? Or how can you do it better or more efficiently next week? Have some follow-up here, and it becomes a check-in. And these check-ins are super, super powerful because we as humans like to know that other humans are with us on this journey. And when we have a journey that is wholly our own, like being a writer, it's super hard to get anybody on that journey with us because they're not the writer. So what we do is we assume, oh, this person's not going to care because they're not on my journey. But it turns out that people like people and you are loved. And there's somebody in your life, probably multiple people in your life, who can be that person for you. And you will all of a sudden feel as though they're on the journey with you. Does it make sense how I'm kind of breaking down why this is important? Okay, I hope this isn't too woo-woo. This is real stuff. This is practical stuff. And I'm not giving you all the research here, but it's out there. Okay, go read High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. We talked about Limitless by Jim Quick. He gets into that a little bit. The neuroplasticity of our brains. Literally, the way our neurons poking fire and stuff changes. We give it certain things and they change and adapt to better be more, see my officials, these are scientific symbols I'm making with my hands. Neuroplasticity, real thing. Go search it. But I'm not giving you that because it's not what we're talking about. Know that there is science, research, and studies here that prove what I'm saying is true. But just trust me when I say you want to do this, bring other people into your journey. It's going to work so much better. You're going to feel better about it. You're not going to feel like a loner at the end of the year, And some of you guys are loners. Don't be loners. You don't need to be a loner by the end of the year. Just have some friends. Okay, all jokes aside. Let's wrap this up. So you got to figure out what you're doing to finish the year strong. Finishing strong isn't about just doing what you've been doing and doing it better. It's about deciding what you're going to do in the little bit of time that you've got left in the year, and then doing those things as well as you can. Okay, and I've given you a couple frameworks and some tips for staying on track that should help. But the point is, the point is, you can do whatever you want. Just do something. You just have to be much more purposeful and intentional, right? What did we say earlier in another call? Like build intention, build necessity. Know why you're doing the things you're doing. If you take the next week, go on that morning walk like I do and just think through this stuff. What do I want to do? I've been doing this. I don't really like this. Do I have to do this? Can I wait till next year on this? Can I just stop on chapter 70 of my 72 chapter novel and this isn't working for me and it's not going to be impactful. I would rather bite off this project over here and start chewing on it. You can do that. You get to do that. But you got to decide now. Because if you wait until end of October, you're getting into wintertime, over here that means, kids dressing up in, costumes and mainly eating. That's what that means for me. Let's be honest. I'm eating Halloween candy. We've got a candy holiday, and then we've got a food holiday, and then we've got another food holiday, and then a drinking holiday. This is a great time for gyms in January 1st, and not a great time for my body. But that's okay. I'm not a quitter, so I'm going to eat. The point is, I can't be doing all these new projects and stuff. I can't be tackling. I can't just be, okay, it's just another day. It's not another day, guys. You're finishing a year. Finish it well. And you finish it well by making sure that you understand the accomplishment that comes with each one, identifying those projects, saying no to projects, using tools like the 45-day rule, whatever it is it looks like for you, do it. But acknowledge what you're doing as you do it. And you're going to find that this is a lot more, what's the right word? You're going to feel that sense of the reward you're going to get from it is so much greater than if you just half-ass your projects and hope they get done. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope that serves you guys. Pretty good timing, I think. A few more minutes for comments. Not as many people watching today. That's totally fine. I am a little uglier than normal. I don't blame you. But my hair is extra gray. But I got my Book Career Blue shirt on. So maybe send me a picture of your best Book Career Blue get up, and I'll post it. Or you can post it here in the group. But yeah, thanks for the comments, Rose. Thanks. I appreciate you saying that. I'm not always spot on. I just want to, for the record, this may seem, it probably doesn't seem polished, but it may seem, thought out and all that. It is, okay? But if you're just hearing me ramble as I'm putting all this stuff together, it's not spot on. I'm deleting stuff and I don't actually do this. I'm trying to bring you guys stuff that's truthful for me, because I may not be where I want to be in my career, but I may be a step ahead of somebody, and I can say, hey, look, if you do this might be easier for you, right? That's my goal. So yeah, I appreciate you saying it's spot on. I appreciate you saying that you enjoy these. Tracy, thank you. I appreciate the detail. That's the thing. I can give you these platitudes, right? I can say, oh, in the year well, but without breaking it down into detail. And that's the real work here that I spend or most of the week, the first 3 days of the week anyway. What am I going to talk about? How am I going to do it? Now get into the detail. Tell the story that I'm struggling with this thing and how I'm going to try to overcome it. That's the secret for anything, right? I go, some of you heard me talk at presentations. I'll be talking at NINC. I'll be talking in Vegas. I talked at one last week. My goal is always to get up on stage and seem like a professional. Hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. It's well thought out. It's well organized. His slides are good. He's funny, engaging, whatever. That takes an incredible amount of work for me personally. And sometimes it feels like it's not worth it because it's hard and I'm not good at it. But that's the goal, is to give you stuff that's actually helpful. The only way I've found to do that is to tell my story, and to give detail from my own life. Sorry, Rose. Status of the ads program is it's coming. I was talking about this website thing that I've been dealing with. Look, I thought 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I'm working with some people to build out my own ads to my store to get direct sales going and all that. And I'm going to use all that kind of experience. I've done this in the past. I mean, I've had a sales engine that ran into my own website, but I was always Kindle Unlimited. I was always exclusive. And lately, I'm like, I really want to figure this out. And I don't mean just like I know how to do it. Like I can teach you how to set up Spotify or Shopify or WooCommerce or whatever. But I wasn't actually doing that in my own business to generate a good chunk of sales. I was getting selling some paperbacks, selling some audiobooks, but the point is, I was like, okay, I'm going to revamp everything that I'm doing on my website. This was the next big move for me earlier this year. I just need a new website. I'm doing fiction, I'm doing nonfiction. They're both equally important in my life. And they both need to be present on the homepage. And point is, all this led to the realization that, okay, I need to go back and redo this store. And that has taken me an incredible amount of time because I'm trying to do it right. And, there's no objectivity in this. It's all subjective. But right for me means it's got to look good. It's got to work super well. It's got to be fast. And it's got to actually generate income, right? It's got to convert. Because then I'm going to keep running ads to it like I've been doing, but really trying to grow this thing. And that's the reason why I haven't done the ads course. So I can talk about the ads stuff. I can talk about AMS ads. I can talk about Facebook. But look, go Google, how to run Facebook ads. And Facebook has a whole thing on how to run Facebook ads. I didn't want to give you that because that's already out there and that's for free. I want to give people something that's totally useful, very practical in their exact the exact issues you are facing as writers. Hey, I've got a way to help you with that. That's what I'm going for. And it's just taken longer than I thought because I really want to have my own store as an example in some of these videos. Like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's converting. This is why it's not converting, whatever it is. And I just haven't set that up yet. So there's a lot of infrastructure work that I didn't realize I was going to have to do before I could really dive into the ads program. A little bit longer of an answer than you wanted, but that's the status, and I'm just being real. I'm not gonna put together a bunch of videos of just me talking about ads. That's not going to serve you as well. I mean, Mark Dawson's got an amazing ads program, and I'm not going to put something out that's not as good as that, right? So, point is, anyway, it's coming. I promise it'll be there. I just don't know when. Been doing some planning this week, as I just said, finishing the year well. Finishing strong, so maybe that becomes one of the projects that I work on. But then part of it is it's not just ads; it's an ads program, social media, email marketing. Those are 3 separate courses, and then marketing for authors is like the 4th course. So there's a bunch of stuff in there, and I don't have to do all of them at once. I'm not going to wait to launch all of them, at the same time. I'll probably do them individually, but that's what's going on. Yeah. So you need the help with tinkering. You said tinkering insight. Yeah, exactly. I think the point is, like, if you can just watch me go through as I tinker with stuff on my website trying to solve a problem, that's sort of the approach I'm going to take here. I think a lot of these guys teaching ads are doing a really great job teaching ads, but they're not doing as good a job teaching a very specific problem that they've had with their own ads. Why isn't this page converting? And then digging into that. And I think the reason is it makes sense. They might be afraid to go into something that may not be the exact issue that you're facing, and therefore it won't be helpful. But I have found that we're all smart enough to extrapolate. And if you can see me, Nick Thacker, working through his ads on his own website, figuring out why his landing page won't convert, just because you're not writing action-adventure thrillers doesn't mean you can't take something away from that. So I want to show all that stuff. I think that'll be really helpful. It's something that no one else has done. So thanks for saying that. I'm glad you're patient. I'm so sorry. I wanted to have Book Career in a Year library of courses, 4,000 courses all this year, but bit off a little bit more than I can chew. I didn't realize I was going to become a vice president at Drafted Digital. That happened. It's brought with it a whole bag of new tricks that I got to learn. But that's where we are. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Any questions? Ladies, gentlemen, Doug Pratt's been suspiciously silent, and he's probably cooking something up over there. Probably some retort he's been crafting with the help of ChatGPT for the last hour. We'll see what it is, though. It's probably going to be good. Now that I put him on the spot, it's gonna be really good. We'll see what he says. Robin, maybe she left. She ditched us. Thanks for being here, as always. If you want to look back over this, watch this throughout the week, however you consume content, whatever, I'll pin it as a featured pin. And you can watch it, leave some comments. I'll try to go back in the next week and answer stuff that I've missed. But yeah, I'm still here for a couple more minutes. So if there's a question, drop it in. Eric asked me, are you using a Shopify store? No, I'm not, and I should. And I would recommend that to every author because it is just easier and it does look good and it converts super well because people are comfortable with Shopify. I, however, am a WooCommerce guy, which is WordPress owned now. The reason for that is mainly the cost of switching, right? Like so much time and energy and money spent into developing plugins and working on WooCommerce sites. And, I used to be a web guy, right? So like I've set up 1,000 of these things. Very, very, very comfortable in there. If something goes wrong, I know almost immediately what, I can fix it. Shopify is more of a black box. Not that I can't fix things and tinker with things on that side, but it's a proprietary software. So I'm basically at the whims of the company. And there's nothing wrong with that because they are a great company for sales. They're set up for e-commerce and they power a lot of the web. So I would always recommend Shopify. I use WooCommerce because if I want to open up code and actually like write something in functions PHP, I can do that. Right. ChatGPT does make the best barbecue, Patty. So I can't think of it. I was going to think of a fun joke. I'll get back to you after I talk to ChatGPT. Do I use Automate Woo for upsells and retargeting? So no, what I do is my stack is kind of lately. I'll give you what I'm using right now, and it's working really well. I use something called Funnel Kit, which is a yearly expense, like a few $100 a year, is what I paid for, and it's really impressive, a suite of tools. But it's a landing page builder. They completely redesign your checkout page and cart page. I'll show you all this stuff. I'll drop it in here and kind of give it in Book Career in a Year group and give everybody a walkthrough of how it's working. But I use Funnel Kit for that. So that's the upsells, cross sells, downsells, that shopping cart, checkout, all that is basically, it doesn't replace WooCommerce. It just has skins and designs and it guides people through. So I can have an opt-in funnel or get their email address and then immediately they're taken to a sales page, landing page, and then taken to the shopping cart. So they do all that for you. And then they have automations that handle like abandoned checkouts after somebody purchases, after somebody visits the site for the first time. So some of the on-site retargeting happens there. And then I use Facebook ads for the retargeting. So I have their conversion API and the pixel installed on the website. This should be pretty basic stuff for everybody. If you don't have a Facebook pixel, just get one, install it, go Google how to do that. Like I said, Facebook will walk you through that. But the point is, to answer your question, Patty, so I do retargeting ads just by using the Facebook pixel and stuff. But I've got everything set up and tagged in a system on my website and as part of a CRM tool called Fluent CRM. So WooCommerce, which is free-ish, you got to pay for certain things like subscriptions or whatever if you want that. And then the second one that's really important is Funnel Kit, which is kind of integrated with WooCommerce. And then the third thing is Fluent CRM, which is my contact relations management. So those are the three big ones. There's some smaller things that I do here and there, but those are the three. If you were to just go build a Nick Thacker website, those are the three expenses. You're probably looking at $500 a year, probably. That doesn't include hosting or anything like that. So you can, anyway, not free, but it's worth, I'm just going to say it this way, it's worth paying for some of these professional tools. Easy peasy. Yeah, I think that's Eric. Yeah, cool. Tracy, at some point, can you talk, please, about how you juggle publishing other authors along with all the other stuff you're doing with your own books? I have an LLC with one author. Yeah, I'll tell you, the secret is you hire somebody named Matt. I've got a partner, and he does all the publishing at this point. So I still run the business on finances, taxes, all that stuff I do, paying all the authors. Anything financial related, that's still me, but Matt does all the publishing. He does contracts, and we both kind of find, we'll do some of the research to find new authors. We get a lot of submissions. We have a slush pile like anyone else. Yeah, I need to do one on hiring. I've been afraid to do a live stream on how to hire people because I'm not good at hiring people. I am very good at certain things like building websites and all that. And part of the fear that I have is that, giving that control to somebody else, they're not going to do it as well. And I know you guys know what I'm about to say, but the truth is that's not a fear that we need to have. Most of the time, people will come on board and there's an onboarding process, maybe a few months, and they go out of town for a week. And it gets frustrating because you're paying them this money and they're not as good as you. But then all of a sudden, they're better than you. I pay somebody to do social media for me, so she actually goes through and takes these live streams, splits them up, chops them up, puts them in a tool called Descript that I pay for, that she has access to, and it gives us transcripts, and then she makes little videos, and that's hours of work that I don't have to do now. Totally worth it, right? Yeah, Patty, hiring people is a minefield, but I don't really see a way around doing it. We want to scale our businesses. Like, guess what? At some point, I got to hire somebody to do something. Truly believe that. But it's not easy. It's not something that is you just go to Fiverr and find the first person that comes up, right? Rose, I invested in 2019 to have a store built into my website. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. I know I'm doing a course on websites for authors. It'll come out at some point, and it'll talk about all this stuff for sure. Robin, is it worth focusing on a goal that will set you up for a bigger project next year? Yeah, totally. Look, all this stuff that we talked about, like the way I'm approaching these projects is they're not in isolation. They're pieces of the next big move that are pieces of the mountain, or better yet, they're all paths up the mountain. And like we talked about before, you can go different routes up, but each of those routes, if you've truly done the work of, the soul searching work of figuring out what the mountain is and what the next big moves are, you may have 3 hills in the distance. You can summit any of those hills at any time. Probably helpful to stay on one hill rather than, before you get to the top, move down to the next one. You're kind of starting over. But that's all part of the game, is you're moving closer to your mountain. So any of these projects you pick up this year is going to carry you through next year, because not only the motivation and the dedication you committed to something and done it, that's super helpful just for general mental health. But the third thing, the important thing we didn't talk about is, I'm assuming these are all projects that are taking you closer to your mountain. So they will absolutely potentially set you up for a bigger project next year. At the very least, if the project that you're doing now that you choose as your top 3 priorities isn't something that directly relates to something bigger and better next year, you at least have the win of getting that project done. And those are wins that we need. We definitely need projects we're finishing rather than projects we're just getting halfway through and then abandoning, right? So just by finishing any project, you're setting yourself up for success for the next project, no matter how unrelated that project might be to the previous one. Okay, this is the same reason why psychology, people love checking things off a to-do list. And some people have even hacked it by, like the old joke, we put something on the to-do list like, put on your socks, right? Because when you check that box, is it dopamine? There's a dopamine hit that we get from that. It's a real thing. It's chemistry, right? And sometimes, we can kind of placebo affect our way out of, thinking this is helpful. The point is, this stuff works. Tackling a project is a win. And you get one done, you're set up to tackle even bigger projects next year, regardless of if they're directly related or not. All right, cool. Well, we burned up the time, and I'm going to go. Got some projects to work on. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking it out today. I hope this was helpful for you guys. As I said, I'm looking at next week. I should be able to do a live stream. I'll let you know. I'll be at NINC with the wifey, and we will have gotten in the day before. So depending on schedule and all that, I should have time. I will let you know ahead of time that whether or not we're doing it or not. But hopefully, we'll see you next week. And in the meantime, if you have any more comments, anything that you want to ask or add, drop it in the chat wherever you might be. I'll hopefully see that sometime this